Russians are still very much using old Soviet methods of just hurling masses of people forward, regardless of how many will be killed.
A former British soldier has been killed fighting for Ukraine. Jordan Gatley served in the British Army until March of this year and was shot dead in Severodonetsk, an eastern city which has been the scene for some of the bloodiest battles since the war began. Gatley is the second Briton known to have been killed in action after another volunteer, Scott Sibley, died fighting Russian troops back in April. Askold Krushelnycky is the Times reporter in Ukraine and has been telling me about the situation in the city of Severodonetsk.
The situation is very hard there for the Ukrainian forces. The commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian forces this evening, about an hour ago, said that the Russian attacks are continuing as they have done over the last few weeks. They're pummeling Severodonetsk and the surrounding areas with artillery fire just inundating the area. But he said that Ukrainian forces are still there and they make slight gains. But as over the last couple of weeks, the Ukrainians will make slight gains and then the Russians will recover a bit more. So it's a lot of to and fro, which is costing an enormous number of lives for both sides.
And fierce street fighting seen in the city. We're hearing that a chemical plant has been hit too. What do we know about the impact that's having, particularly on what we understand are hundreds of civilians sheltering at the plant?
Yeah, it's unclear. The Severodonetsk was a huge Soviet-era industrial base with about 16 massive plants. There was an oil refinery, there was chemical plants, an ammonia plant. I'm not sure what exactly chemicals were being produced at this plant. But at the moment, there isn't an indication that, they're not great fumes, but they're not something that's instantly deadly. But there are people in air raid shelters below ground, and we'll find out tomorrow more about their condition and if the fumes are getting into basements or shelters, there could be tragic consequences. But we don't know very much about that yet.
What's the significance of the city to Russia?
The Russians are trying to take the whole of Luhansk province, which is one of the two provinces, along with Donetsk, that makes up the Donbass. They're trying to get the whole of Luhansk province, because I've been told that they are concerned about or eager to have a fake legitimacy. They want to take the whole of that province and then stage a sham referendum asking people whether they want to be annexed by Russia, and of course it's a foregone conclusion, but they'll say yes, please.
As this continues, Ukraine, meanwhile, continuing its plea for more weaponry, how does its military stack up against Russia?
Throughout this war, Ukraine's been vastly outnumbered. Ukraine is a much smaller country of about 40 million people compared to 130 or 140 million for Russia. Russia's army is also massive compared to Ukraine. So Ukraine has managed to hold the line and actually make gains against the Russians by just having a more nimble, agile, adaptive response. So the Russians are still very much using old Soviet methods of just hurling masses of people forward, regardless of how many will be killed. Because of years of Western training, primarily by Britain and the USA, Ukrainian soldiers and officers have learned about flexibility using initiative. So to a great extent, they've been able to counter Russia's military might and superiority by using just better tactics. But in eastern Ukraine, it's at the moment, mostly artillery drills. And the Russians have 10 or 15 artillery pieces for each one that the Ukrainians have. And so they're able to saturate areas. They don't have to be very good with their aim. They don't care where the missiles land. But there's so many of them that they're taking a great toll in lives. And the importance of the Western weapons is that they're more accurate, they have a longer range, and the Ukrainians have brought even up the battlefield. So at the moment, it's a race against time. The Russians are trying to take as much territory as they can. The Ukrainians are holding them back, hoping that these weapons will come soon and make a difference on the battlefield.
Can I ask just a final point on the impact you're seeing this having where you are? The city you speak to us from this evening, I understand, is where many of the military casualties are being treated.
Yeah, there are 8 hospitals, I'm told, and they're mostly full, and there have been thousands. The authorities won't give out the exact number of casualties, but they say that there are thousands who have been wounded. Also, thousands of Ukrainians have been killed. So the hospitals are working all out. They're efficiently organized. I spoke to the deputy mayor, who's a person in charge of all the medical assets here, and he says that they are working flat out. They're trying to do the best that they can. They're getting medicines and equipment so far that's needed. And he was very proud that out of his 10,000 staff, only a handful left the city during the war. So they're working hard. They're trying to save as many lives as possible. But the casualties, I could tell from the way he described them, are at a pretty horrific high level.